Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Jeff Cohn with another episode of the Team Building Podcast, where we interview top agents and brokers from across the country, across brokerage brands, to help you build and scale a dominant real estate team in your marketplace. I have a great guest today who attended our team building workshop almost 4 years ago. It would have been back in 2015. His name's Bryhn Kraft. Bryhn has expanded his footprint into 6 states, mostly, I believe, in the Midwest, but we'll let him speak to that. And he has some amazing numbers to share with us today. We're going to talk about scaling. We're going to talk about marketing. We're going to talk about creating an org chart so that you have direct reports that can help you build your business so that you don't have to have a job, so that you can focus on the things that you absolutely love to do. And I know, Bryhn, you have a lot of hobbies yourself. I know we've connected on hunting. For a while, he was sponsored. I think you guys had a hunting show, or maybe even still do. So, Bryhn, welcome to the show. We have a lot to get into today. I know we keep these episodes short and brief, so a lot of people are going to be wanting more, and I know we will share with the audience a way for them to get in touch with you. So,
absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. So why don't you share with the audience? I kind of threw out some numbers there as far as states are concerned. I would love for you just to go back to maybe 10, 15 years ago. What got you into real estate? How did you decide to start your own brokerage? And then, of course, how did you expand? Because having a brokerage and a team is one thing, but then being able to take that even across the city, across the state, and across the country is a completely other thing.
No problem. Yeah. So I'm originally not from the Midwest, as you can probably tell from my accent. I'm originally from the South. I'm from Mississippi originally. I've been involved in real estate since since 1996. I owned a lot of other businesses and still own businesses. So I'm all about scaling my businesses. I'm all about systems and processes. That way I can build businesses that run. They're actually businesses and not a job. I don't build anything that requires me to be there every day, all day. Otherwise, it's not a business. Businesses work no matter where I'm at. So I relocated from Mississippi to the Midwest because of my hunting, which you mentioned a little bit earlier. We do film, still film, with Heartland Bowhunter TV is what it's called. Recently just got some awards for our television show, which is a great honor. It's kind of like winning an Emmy. Little moose you see back here in the background. That's it.
Awesome.
So that's
Congratulations.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks, man. So that's actually what brought me to the Midwest. I was hunting in the Midwest, loved it, and just started growing roots. Came home, told my wife, so like, hey, I really want to move to the Midwest. And so we just started traveling around, trying to find a place to live. And so that's how I got here.
Okay, so where are you now? Where'd you land?
I'm in Overland Park, Kansas, is actually where I based my business at. We looked at a lot of different places, but Overland Park wasn't built on just one. It's kind of like a melting pot of a lot of businesses. Mm-hmm. So I felt like there was a lot of opportunity here for me to do whatever I wanted to do and open whatever businesses. I'm always searching for opportunities. I think that's the big thing from all entrepreneurs is being able to identify opportunities and being able to capitalize on those opportunities, which is what we did in the real estate world too. So back to 1998, 1996, I was making money in other businesses, needed some place to put it, which is right up your alley. I started investing it in real estate, and that kind of got me acclimated to real estate. I was buying commercial properties. I was spec building houses, developing stuff. It was got to the point where I couldn't find enough to buy, and so there wasn't enough inventory, so I just decided to start building it myself. So just started building it, owning it, selling it, redoing it. Same thing you do with houses. I was doing it with office buildings and complexes. I'd go in and buy an entire office building, start moving tenants out that weren't paying enough rent, get their rents up, redo it level by level by level, turn around, sell it for a cap rate, make some money, keep some of them, hold some of them, kind of like you're playing with residential real estate. I was just doing it commercial.
Okay.
And still do it. So that's kind of how I got started. I ended up with enough inventory that I actually never was licensed, which is what I wanted to say. Wasn't actually licensed to sell anyone else's, but I had enough inventory that I was selling my own. So I understood the game really very well. Moved to the Midwest. I moved up here to start investing in land, which is kind of a side thing I was doing in Mississippi. I really enjoyed it. It's right up my alley. It is my niche. I don't sell homes. I only sell land. I only sell recreational tracts personally. But in the world of land sales, you really have to sell land. You can't just sell one type, just like you guys. You can't just sell $1 million homes. There's not enough of them. So we can't just sell hunting land. We have to sell all types. So
sure.
But that's kind of where it landed. I came up here to the Midwest, realized that I was trying to learn land so I could invest in it. That's all I wanted to do is just start buying and selling farms. But I realized I just didn't know enough about it. And I thought the best way to do that would be, I could get my market knowledge, which is something we teach all of our agents. It's something that you have to have. I said, I can get my market knowledge. I'll just get my license. That'll force me to be in it every day. I can understand what's going on.
What year was that?
That was in 2008, 2009.
Okay. And the reason I bring that up with our listeners, that's 10 years ago. So when
actually, it was 2011. Sorry, 2011.
And that's the year we launched my team. First full year was 2012. So this is like 8 years ago. And the reason I always ask our guests these questions, Bryhn, is a lot of times people think to get to where you are, it's going to be 40 years away. And that's what I thought. When I launched my team, I never dreamed I'd be doing over 100 million, have 30 plus agents. I thought I would, but maybe like into my 50s and 60s, 30 years down the road, you can do it a lot faster. We're going to unwrap essentially the exact strategy Bryhn implemented. So you get licensed in 2000, you said 11?
Yep.
Okay.
I did.
Because you're ready to do more than just your own stuff. You need a license now.
I just wanted to learn. I just knew I could get my market knowledge. If it forced me to be in it every day and talking to landowners every day, I could find what they needed. And I just realized that there was a big need in the land business, is why we started our own brokerage.
And this is in and around the Overland Park area.
Started off actually the whole, kind of Kansas, Missouri, Kansas City area.
Yep.
So there's not enough land sales going on around towns. You really got to expand, which is why we've mastered the art of getting into other states. You really have to understand how to scale, because you can't scale like you guys from one zip code to the next.
Hey,
we farm.
For the listeners that have lasted up to this point, because I know there's Heidi's listening to this and it's very detailed. We're going to keep in the details, but let's give somebody a nice fat carrot. What are you going to do in 2019? Let's just jump right to it, and then we'll go back to the story. So in 2011
we're going
to 2019, what are you going to do this year?
Let's see. This year in sales volume, we're going to end up somewhere around 8 million in GCI, 8.25,
so not
8.5
volume,
million.
8 million in gross commission income. Okay.
That's correct. Yeah. GCI is right about 8 million. That's up from 5 million last year.
Oh my gosh. That's a huge increase, especially in the market.
It's been like that every year.
Just
it's been like that
to
almost
grow
every year.
And what states are you in?
Currently we're in Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, South Dakota, Arkansas, Oklahoma. Just got licensed in Nebraska, where you are. And there's a couple more states on our radar screen that we're going to go into.
Of course there are. And if someone were to want to reach out to you and be one of the expansion teams or expansion brokerages, whatever you're calling them, how would they get in touch with you, and what are you looking for?
Yeah, email is the best for me. bcraft@midwestlandgroup.com. That's the simple one, BCRAFT @midwestlandgroup.com is how you get. I mean, that's the name of our company, Midwest Land Group. We're pretty easy to find. If you search that, you're going to find us.
Okay.
But that's the easiest way to get in touch with us. They could also follow us. Yep.
Tell them what's your social media tag, okay?
Yeah, Instagram's MW Land Group, and on Facebook it's Midwest Land Group.
All right, pretty simple.
You can follow along, and you can reach out in any of those places.
Okay, 8 million in GCI. The highest I've ever been is 3.2 million. That was 2 years ago with 40 agents. We've done expansion as well. Our expansion, we chose to convert that into coaching. So I suppose if I took the credit of all my coaching clients, I'd probably beat you in GCI. But we won't count that because I don't own those expansion teams, right? I just help influence those expansion teams. So let's speak exactly to what you did. And we had to keep this under 20 minutes. From 2011 to 2019, because everyone listening would like to do exactly what you did and go to 8 million in GCI. And I'd be curious if you're willing to share with the audience. We're really serious on this show talking about profit and loss statements, because if you run a true business, out of that gross commission, what percentage you keep as net, how much is your overhead, and I'd be curious to know how much is getting paid out in commission income to the teams that are actually doing the sales in the field.
Yeah,
and I'd also be curious if you know the numbers in 19, how many units that was and what your average land deal goes for, if you have those numbers.
Yeah. 2019, we're at 760 units as of today at the end of Q3. Okay. So we're probably going to end up at somewhere around 850, almost 1,000, 900, somewhere around in there. Average deals about $330,000.
Okay, so nothing fancy.
Nope. It's not like we're selling $17 million farms every day trying to get to those numbers.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be fancy, right?
No, it just needs to be scalable.
What's the average commission?
Beep beep. we average about $13,000.
And I think I can ask that, yeah, right? Like, I think you can say your average commission charge, like in Omaha right now, ours is 6%. We typically pay out in Omaha 40%. We pay out 2.4%, but it's not always, right? So we're not price fixing that. So you'd say your average land commission 7%. Is 7%. Okay. And what do you pay out on a land deal, just out of curiosity, if you don't bring the buy side?
Well, so we break ours down completely different than most of you guys in the residential world. So you'll be interested to hear how we do it. We had to devise something that worked so that referrals could be referred out. In the land business, we're generating leads that I have to give someone to something in Nebraska. So we had to internally build some sort of referral structure that actually worked. So 40%, everything we do, every single transaction is broke down the exact same way. 40, 30, 20, 10, okay? 40% always goes to the agent wearing the agent hat. That's the dude that takes the phone call, goes out, closes the deal, whatever. Every single transaction also has a referral portion. If it's your SOI, you're paying the referral to yourself, but we have to allocate a value to that referral source so they understand exactly where this stuff's coming from. They'll get hung up in, oh, well, I get 70% of this one and only 40% of that. No, you're doing two different things.
Right.
Your referral source gave you 30%. Your agent hat only gave you 40% of that transaction. So our whole company's based around that. So you got 40% going to the agent, 30% going to the referral fee. So if it's SOI,
right. But if you bring it, you keep it. Yep, exactly. But if it came, because a lot of land deals, it's like, hey, this guy's buying a farm 2 hours away. I'm not going to represent him. I wouldn't be doing my fiduciary responsibility. I'll refer it to Bryhn in Overland Park.
That's correct. Who's a specialist at it? That's what exactly.
And they're keeping 30. So anyone listening to this, you'll pay out a 30% referral fee on a land deal in all of these different markets that you're in.
Yep. All day, every day. That's how we built our company. That's exactly right. Which is typically more than what's getting paid out.
Sure, 25 is probably your norm.
We understand exactly what the cost is associated with those leads. So we're like, hey man, no brainer.
Okay. So 70 if the agent's from our SOI. So 40, 30, and then where the 2010 goes.
20 goes to the brokerage itself. 10% goes to local marketing. Because every time we go to these different states, you have to turn on some sort of marketing machine. You've got economy of scale there in Omaha. You're doing exactly what you're doing. You don't have to do the exact same thing in another state, in another state, another state. So we have to have some funds available to be able to scale that. So 10%.
So 10% of the GCI is going back to marketing in that place. So if they make $100,000, 10 grand's going back to them. It's feeding them. I love that. It's not coming out of the brokerage 20%. That's going to be profit for you. And then, of course, you have all your internal overhead. So would you say out of that $8 million, you're keeping around 10 to 15% in net profit after all of your costs?
Well, it depends. So you're talking about it from like running a team. So in the team part of it, the team inside the brokerage, I would receive 30% referrals from anything I gave anyone. And then I would work off of whatever it cost me to get the lead generation in there.
The 10% gets paid for by the expansion partner. And then you, though, are the vehicle that generates all of those leads. And you have your special way of generating those leads. And they have to then pay you a 30% referral fee. But they themselves are taught and trained on how to generate their own leads as well, just like I would teach my agents to generate leads the same way I'm generating leads.
Yes, great point, Jeff. And what we do, we learned this the hard way. So if you want a little nugget, this is one of them. We learned the hard way that if we build a team that is strictly designed around receiving leads, it's very inefficient for us. The lead conversion is inefficient. The money that gets made is inefficient. They get burned out. So what we tell our guys, year one, 75% of your business can come from something that people gave you, because that's the part they have the most trouble with, is generating their own leads in their own business, because they don't have the confidence. They don't have any experience. So somebody's got to pass something along to them. 75-25 year one, 50-50 year two, 75-25 opposite year three. By year four, 100%. I don't want them taking leads.
Right. They'll be there for them as a crutch if necessary, but that's not your model.
Absolutely.
Your model is to teach them how to fish. I love it. I know ERS has always taught a third of the deal should be internet leads. A third of the deal should be sphere of influence. A third of the deal should have on prospecting. And then in time, of course, everyone knows you should just work your SOI in time. I really love how you broke that up. So 75-25, 75% leads you generate. Then the next year's 50-50. Then the next year's 75-25, the opposite way. And then hopefully year four, they're in a position where they wouldn't even have to work the leads, but they're still going to, because leads are going to still probably be pouring in. One of the things that really stood out to me, Bryhn, when you came and visited in 2015 was your mailing campaign. And it's kind of funny because now flash forward to 19, I'm spending $20,000 a month on mailers, direct mail through REI Vault to help us find investment property. I know you had a very similar spend. I think you said $50,000 a month when you visited in 15. Was it that much? Do I remember this correctly?
Man, every territory. I'm $62,333 a month right now.
Across the board, or in just single territories?
Overall. I'm mailed to a mailing list that's about 360,000 landowners.
So you're 800,000 a year, almost $1 million a year. And then, did you mention you started your own? You have your own printing press and mailing company. Did you acquire?
So what we did, I have a graphics designer here. We haven't gone as far as to buy our own presses and do our own printing yet. What we did was we realized that that's the golden goose for these printers. Everything's going internet. So a client like us, I mean, we're literally getting it printed for ink cost and paper cost.
And you're not having to renew the machines. And do you have any flyers right there you could grab for us? I see some stuff in the background. Anybody watching, these are all on YouTube. I know a lot of people listen on iTunes. If you want to go check this out, I don't have a timestamp right now with where we're at, but I think we're about 10 or 15 minutes in. There's a piece of mail right there. Yep. Is there anywhere online someone could go to see that?
Nope. The only way you get this is if you're a landowner and it comes in your mailbox.
If you want Bryhn to send that to you, shoot him an email. I'm sure he'd be really happy to share it with you. I remember being super impressed, Bryhn, when you brought a few of those to Omaha back in 15. And I've never seen marketing like it from any real estate company in residential ever. Yep.
We had to stand
professional.
Out.
Yeah, it does for sure. It does.
Our whole brand, and the whole platform we give a guy to stand on that can come to work with us is professionalism. Every single thing we do, we take a step back and go, how can we do it better? And just to your point earlier, I don't own the printing presses. We've leveraged economy of scale to get the best prices possible. Right. The very first ones of these I ever mailed out, they were $1.67 a piece to print them, not counting mailing them. Right now, my campaign costs me less than 50 cents to print them, mail them, and get them in the mailboxes. So, I mean, economy of scale.
You guys look at the cover, and also let me explain to the audience that's just listening that's not going to pull up the video. The very front cover is the sun coming up over a Midwestern farm. I think there's a side-by-side, probably a Polaris. There's an elk or a big buck with antlers in the top right corner, which I believe is your logo. It says, let us go to work for you. Yeah. I mean, you are speaking to the Midwestern farmer that's landing in their mailbox. And I love that you made the point, like you're not just selling, even though you specialize in these tracts of land that are probably leased or owned by hunters or, whatever hobbyists might be out there. You'll take anything. I mean, of course, you're referring this out to agents in these different places, and that's you guys are willing to explore any type of project. Just for fun, let's throw this in there. What's the biggest project you guys have ever sold? What's the biggest property you've ever sold? And it could be in commission amount or acreage. Would you know that off the top of your head?
15,360 acres. 6.7 million is what that particular transaction was. So both sides of it would be 12 million. Oh my gosh. Speaking your guys' language.
Yeah. Wow.
We have a board in the back of our office. It's called the 6-figure wall. Mm-hmm. And so there's a whole bunch of checks back there of guys that have received over 6-figure incomes.
Oh, that's fun.
Just on one deal.
6-figure wall. I love it. We only have about 10 minutes. So let's try to connect these dots. 2011, you decide, let's get my real estate license. 2019, you're making $8 million. So how the heck did you get here?
Man, the one thing I learned about business a long time ago is I didn't want a job. I didn't want to create a business that was a job for Bryhn that paid well. All my businesses have to be structured and they have to be run by businesses. So like right now, I own probably 6 or 8 different businesses in various gamuts of the world. I mean, whether it's finance or real estate or consulting, whatever it is, all those businesses run with or without me. That's how I want to build my businesses.
So leverage.
This is no different. You have to leverage technology, knowledge, the ability to train.
Do you mind me running through some questions that I think a lot of our audience members would be wondering?
Ask away.
Number one, what CRM are you using, and how are you holding these teams in other states accountable?
Yeah, so to quote Grant Cardone, all CRMs suck. And the reason they suck is because they can't just take the stuff out of my brain and put it in there automatically. Someone actually has to do that. Mm-hmm. I have not personally found a great CRM system that works for land sales. Mm-hmm. All the products that are out there are built for residential, and so there's too many fields and stuff, and it's like you'd have to have a decoding book to figure it out. So basically, we build one for every one of our guys that starts, and it's basically on Google Drive. So Pages template, whatever they're comfortable with, and we just hold them accountable to that. We make sure that it's online so that our admin can service it and have access to put leads in and out. And we let them work their own. We don't require anyone here. It's hard to get on our team, number one. 61 applicants for every one hire, but that's a whole nother podcast, right? But what we end up doing with them is we don't necessarily hold them accountable. We give them best practices and show them the best way to do it. And they go out and do it, and they see we post our leaderboard just like you do, things we've learned from you.
What are you using for your leaderboard? What software are you using for that?
Well, we've been using a product called CTE. We're now working with Sisu, which was a recommendation of you. Awesome. And they are taking all of our information. We're a very data-driven. I think we're really freaking good at it, to be honest with you. And I think that they're now talking with my director of operations, and they're customizing Sisu, not only so it would benefit us, but so it'll benefit every client that comes down the pipe from now. Because we really do run we run our business off numbers. It's not a guesstimate. It is numbers based. And,
you always were good at speaking to that. And I think if anyone can dork out, it's you and I. I know we've exchanged lots of text messages talking KPIs and ROI, ROT. Anyone that's not familiar, Sisu is a pretty amazing company, sisu.co. If you go to ERSSISU.com, it'll give you the rabbit hole to go down to set up a demo call with them. Essentially, they track everything from lead into your system all the way to when it closes, all the return on investment, return on time, KPIs, leaderboards, gamification. It's better than anything I've seen out there. It trumps CTE. It trumps all the other things out there. But I love Grant Cardone's sentiment. I mean, really, if it's something that, like, people have a CRM and then they don't hold their agents accountable. So it's like, the CRM is only as good as the agent that's working it, just like any tool out there, just like a shovel you'd buy or a hammer that you would swing.
So let me plug that. Let me plug this in there for you. So the big problem is getting someone to use it. So we actually have data input people in my office as part of my staff that make sure the data goes in there, whether they want it in there or not. But now they still have to use it. But the basics of a CRM is, hey, organize your leads and have some sort of follow-up system. That's really all it needs. Once it gets to that, all you're trying to do is get them to hot, keep them on the phone, keep them in hot. You shouldn't forget your hots. It just gives you a database. So when you don't have anyone to work, go down through that. Those people have raised their hand before and said, hey, I want to do business.
Let me ask you this. In the investment world, I'm using Podio. In the coaching world, I'm using HubSpot. And in the real estate world, I'm using Boomtown. So literally 3 separate CRMs for 3 separate companies because
they have to be that.
They're all unique. One of the questions I have for you is, once they've highlighted a lead from their SOI, let's say this lead says 2 years, 10 years down the road, they're interested. Do you have a snail mailing campaign for someone that indicates they're interested in selling land at some point? Or does the mail just go out to cold leads?
We don't. So our mail goes out to a list of landowners. That's one thing that's specific about the land business. Okay. So everybody, when you walk in a grocery store, Jeff, every single person in that grocery store is going to buy a home on average 7 times in their life. So everybody you see is a potential client.
Right.
Not so in the land business. Yeah. You walk through that grocery store, and there might be 1 or 2 people in the whole grocery store. So everything's got to be more targeted.
Probably depends what city you're in too. If you're in West Omaha, it's probably very limited on the landowners.
That's correct. Yeah. So it's the same thing everywhere. So we just do very specific targeting on the direct mail campaigns, but it's followed up by a whole plethora of marketing that takes place, whether it's retargeting ads or but to answer your question, I don't necessarily put them in a quote unquote drip campaign. Our level of service, because our client base is so small, we can't afford to mess any of them up. Mm-hmm. So we make our best practices is for the agent to continue up with whatever the follow-up process is. Our follow-up process came directly from what we learned from you guys when we came up there in 2015. You got your nurture, you got your watch, you got your hot. Mm-hmm. Hey, when a lead comes in 3 times the first day, every other day after that, till you get them on the phone. Make sure you got at least 12 contacts before you try to quit. Same exact rules.
Pretty simple.
Yeah,
talk to people. There's people that talk bad about my team and my market, and they'll say, well, Jeff Cohn, he only has the #1 team in Berkshire worldwide because they make more phone calls than everybody else. And I'm like, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why we're more successful. We work more than all of you. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
When you get, the #1 thing Grant says is, and the reason I keep referring to him is because we use this product inside of our office as well. We keep every single agent that comes through us goes through his university. So they learn how to sell first, and then they learn how to sell land after that. And we've worked with him to put together a customized course that everybody goes to, and it's awesome. But
that's cool.
It works out great. But what he says is you have to beat obscurity first. You can have the best product and be the best person, but if no one knows you exist, they can't do business with you. First thing you got to do is beat obscurity. To get in any business anywhere or scale anything, you have to have a good product, but now you got to go tell the world you got it.
Yep. So one of the reasons, and I'm going to show this with the audience, if you sit back and you think, okay, Bryhn's done 730 sides, average sales price 330, 8 million GCI. Why would he want to expand across 6 states? 730 units. Most cities can warrant that. So great I think I can guess your answer, but why don't you share with the audience why you'd go so far out?
Yeah. So, man, my goal originally was to do $1.25 billion in sales. I need 173 agents averaging 209,000 in GCI to get that done. I've got 50 agents on board right now. So I've got 12 in the pipeline. I've got another 32 that I'm trying to hire.
How many unit sales per agent per location per year?
Depends on where they are, where they're at, but it's generally going to be 24 to 36. I mean, I got some guys that are at $500,000 in GCI, but at the halfway market this year.
Yeah.
And then I got some guys that are at $100,000, but they got to do 209. That's kind of my mark. But the reason you asked me the question was I need 1.25 billion in sales. And so I need to expand this thing out to 173 agents.
All right, perfect. We'll reach out to Bryhn if you want to apply. 1 out of 63. If you think you're that special one, reach out to Bryhn, see if you can be there. I already told you, and I'll tell you right now, live in front of everybody, I'd love for you to use us in and around the Omaha area. I just have to find the right boots on the ground to do it. Sounds like a very reasonable deal, too, the way that you guys break down all your commissions. Well, I could go another hour. I think our listeners could as well. Unfortunately, we're at time. That was 25 minutes. It went very fast. We didn't really get the story, so we're going to have to bring you back on. But we would love to invite our audience to come out to one of our upcoming workshops. If you'd like to know upcoming dates for those, go out to eliterealestatesystems.com. Click on events. I know next week, and by the time this is probably launched, it's going to be a couple weeks ago, but we're hosting a workshop at the end of October, and we're now doing team building on Mondays and investing on Tuesdays. So those are married together, which is really unique. We will have some new dates up probably for next January or February, so stay tuned for those. But we always are hosting our summer event, which is the Team Building Summit 2020, which I believe is going to be July 12th this year. That event is up on the website. VIP tickets for that are going for $397. And Bryhn, I'd like to try to get you out, and I'll publicly invite you to come speak, because I think land is an area that a lot of agents would like to learn more on that don't know a lot about land. I know for me personally, I refer it out, but I'd like us to learn it. I don't know how hard it is to learn it. I'm sure there are a lot of complicated parts to it, just like with commercial, but I would think it'd be unique for you to tell your story and speak to it. And be it that you did attend an ERS workshop, and I believe for a time we're an ERS coaching client, I think it would behoove us to have you out. So if those dates work for you, I'd love to get you out here in Omaha, summer of 2020.
Yeah, and the good thing about this is what we did, the way we grew our business. You asked this question earlier, so I'll wrap it up for you in a little bow here. The way we grew our business was through systems and processes, okay? And a lot of those systems and processes we had to learn and come into your clinic just like we did. We're in a different business, but we're still able to grab the little nuggets from this and the nuggets from that. Mm-hmm. What do you call it? Not research and development, but rip off and duplicate.
There it is.
Boom. It's the easiest thing in the world to do, and I said it the last time I came up in front of everybody that if I was going to do a residential brokerage, all I would do is join it. I would plug in. I'd have you teach everybody, and bada bing, bada boom. And in 5 years, you'd be doing exactly what I'm doing right now. No ifs, ands, or buts. Find a lead generation mechanism, find out what works, make it a process, hire people to convert the leads. Everybody wins. They win because they get to become an agent that's doing more business than they could if they didn't have all those processes in place. And that's exactly what we offer. And that's exactly what we got from you.
You couldn't have said it better. That's exactly what we believe as well. And when people fail to succeed, it's because they fail to execute and they don't know what to execute. So what Elite Real Estate Systems Team Leader Coaching is all about, you guys, for $1,000 a month. We have a weekly 1-hour call with a 30-minute Q&A after that call with team leaders, teaching them exactly the actionables that you can take to your business to see this type of scalability that you see Bryhn go from 2015. What were your numbers, Bryhn? You were about, I think
2015, I did 86 sides. Yeah, I did 86 sides in 2015.
Yeah, I remember for a while we were kind of neck and neck, and now you've just completely surpassed us as well. And I think it's awesome what you've built. I know a lot of people are watching you and wanting to emulate kind of what you've done. So thank you for coming on the show. We'll definitely have you back on, and would love to see you speak next summer. This is the caliber of person we want inside of Elite Real Estate Systems. We want to grow together. We don't believe that we know it all. We know we don't know it all. We've never arrived. We're always learning more and wanting to bring this to the country. And that's why I started this podcast 4 years ago. We're getting over 70,000 downloads a month right now on the podcast, and people are eating up the content because we teach people to stop working. Every other coaching organization in the country that I know of in residential real estate teaches people to be a hamster on a wheel. We don't want to be hamsters. If you're on my podcast, it's because you're learning how to teach others to be like you, and then eventually teach them to stop being hamsters as well. And that's what true leaders do, is they teach their followers to be just like them. So you're a great example of that. We appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thanks, Jeff. Man, I appreciate you having me, and I'd love to do it again. If anyone has any questions or anything, they can reach out to me personally, or they can just keep pestering you to have me on again and have a list of questions, and I'd love to answer them all, man. It's just unique that I know we have a lot we could talk about, but it's because my business model is different, but it's not. It's just how
very
to grow
similar.
it, you know?
Yep. Go out there to iTunes. We have almost over 100 reviews on iTunes, all 5-star. Go out and give Bryhn a shout out. It's BRYHN CRAFT. Let him know how great of a job he did today and what you took away from this episode. And until next time, we appreciate you guys following the Team Building Podcast with Jeff Cohn. Thank you, Bryhn.
Thank you. Appreciate it.